I'm Andrew Patterson from interest.co.nz, and welcome to another company focusing in our business series. And today I'm with Dave Byes, who is the Director of Sales internationally for Compac sorting equipment. Welcome, Dave.
Thank you, Andrew.
So, Dave, tell us a little bit about some of the early beginnings of this company and how it compares today to some of those early days in 1984 when it was first started.
The company is vastly different today from 1984. The founder, Hamish Kennedy, graduated with an electronics engineering degree, and really it was just himself and a few mates built the first Compac sorting machine, actually for their family kiwifruit orchard. And the business was built on New Zealand kiwifruit, and that was great for a few years, but that came to an end, and we had to look for exports. So today we have our equipment operating in more than 30 markets around the world, and that's a whole lot different from what it was 28 years ago.
And it's all about sorting fruit, and it's quite amazing the way this technology works, isn't it? Because it's not just simply a matter of sorting fruit by size, but it's got to be graded, the blemishes have to be identified. You can even identify taste factors as well.
Correct. I mean, sorting is the core technology of what we do, but it's all about the packing of fruit. So we get involved also in the traceability. So when the fruit arrives to our customer's site, the packer, we have to track it through the plant, through all the sorting process, and get it into the final package to market. And today a big focus of our business is food safety and the traceability that guarantees food safety. So your sorting is the key, and size, colour, defects and internal quality. You may have bought apples that have been brown inside. We have the technology today, even though an apple looks perfect from the outside, to look inside and find the brown core in the apple and sort it out.
Obviously, you have a strong focus on your customers and the fact that they have demands as well. How do you determine between customers who are wanting particular innovation that's going to be good for the business versus perhaps innovation that's only going to be good for them?
Well, most of the good ideas come from our customers. They have problems, they have challenges that they need to be met, and they come to us and say, can you solve this problem? So a lot of our development is customer driven, most of it in fact. They're asking for solutions to problems. A lot of it's driven from the request to reduce their labour. I mean, New Zealand is a faraway country from the export from our customers' markets. They've got to ship apples from, for example, kiwi fruit from New Zealand to Europe. It's as far away as you can get from your markets. So to be competitive in the market, there's a big push on reducing costs. So automation is a big part of what we're doing to drive labour out of our customers' business, and doing that sorting automatically with cameras, with electronics, rather than with people as it was done 25 years ago.
Obviously, innovation plays an important part in this company. Tell us about how innovation and the innovation cycle works with a company like Compac.
Well, we have what we call our wish list, and our wish list is all the products that our customers would like us to develop for them, and it's a long list. So we go through a process of prioritising that wish list, and it's covering a number of disciplines. It's mechanical design, it's electronics, and it's software. And often it's a combination of those three disciplines. So we have to look at the resources we've got available as to which products we develop. You know, is it purely mechanical? Is it just software? Is it electronics? So we're all the time reviewing our wish list and choosing the products. And looking at the market validation is a big part of our development as well. We will first validate. I mean, we get often requests that one customer might have, but it's just for him, and that's not a valid market. So we're always go through that process. So we have quite a disciplined approach to choosing which products to develop.
And how do you run a company globally? You've got, as you say, you operate in 30 countries, so I'm thinking that there's probably a lot of contracting out to maintain systems and servicing and those sort of aspects that go with maintaining your client base in those offshore countries.
We have two distinct channels, if you like. We have 3 offshore manufacturing locations. that manufacture the equipment that's designed here in New Zealand. So that's in Uruguay, Italy and South Korea. So that's manufacturing the equipment that's designed here. On top of that, we have sales and service offices, and they're regionally based. So most of our channel to market is direct. So we have our own sales and service offices in South America, for example, in Chile, Argentina, Peru, Brazil. They're in-market sales and service because that service has to be local. And it's quite important. I mean, it's a key to being successful in those markets is having that local service.
And those people are all trained by you as well?
Yes, they are. They come to New Zealand for training. It's quite a technical product, so that those technicians and service people will come to New Zealand for training.
When you look at the way that you have grown over that period of time, what would be some of the inflection points that you can recall where there was perhaps a few sleepless nights and maybe some concern about directions that you were having to take? Where are the growth pains for a company like this?
Well, there are many sleepless nights along the way. I think lots of markets do have barriers to entry, and our first exports were into France, into Europe, and we found that our software was not in French. It's a requirement of the market, CE. We had to go through a whole process of translating. Actually, first of all, designing what we wrote to be translated, because we didn't initially design it with translation in mind. So it was going back and redesigning from the ground up for software to be easily translated. And we now have our software in a whole range of languages, and it's a requirement of the market. So until you meet those requirements, you don't succeed. So lots of that's just one example of an obstacle along the way, but. A lot of why people make these capital investment decisions is about relationships, and that takes time. I mean, it's not something you can just walk into a market and do a deal. It takes time to build trust, those relationships, and have credibility. So that's a slow process to become known. I mean, our brand Compac is well known in a lot of markets, but not every market by any means. We're not well known in Europe today. We're quite well known in North and South America, South Africa, Australia. So we still have quite some brand awareness and market development to go, and it's all about relationships.
What about the fact that you're based in New Zealand? When you turn up, small country, how could you be any good at sort of producing this high technology? I suppose now clearly you've got a lot of runs on the board and you can sort of prove that. But I imagine earlier there must have been perhaps some credibility issues.
Yeah, I think we saw it as quite an advantage to be sort of down here in the South Pacific below the radar. So our competitors had no idea what we were developing. So we were developing great technology under the radar of our competitors. So we came and attacked markets like North America with technology that was well ahead of what our competitors. So that isolation was an advantage in some ways. And our people, we send our New Zealand-based people overseas to install our equipment, commission it and train the customers. I'd have to say, without exception, our New Zealand staff, people love them overseas. They have a great work ethic. We get continuous and comments and praise back for the quality of our people that are going to install equipment. They love the Kiwis. So I think it's an advantage. There's no disadvantage to being here in New Zealand. So
you kind of let the staff sell the product and sell its reputation. What about the competitive space? I mean, how competitive is this market globally?
Well, that really depends. The global market is very competitive, but there are more competitive regions than others. I mean, Europe, which I mentioned earlier, is fiercely competitive. So all our big competitors come from Europe. That's their home base. So they, of course, like to sell close to home if possible. It's a technology race, and we've been saying we're very aware that technology is very perishable. What you develop today, you cannot stop and rest on that for the next 5 years. You've got to keep developing. And so we're very aware that we have to continue the development and the research race to stay ahead. So while we're ahead today, we don't expect for a minute that will keep us ahead in the long term.
What are some of the aspects that would have a customer choose your equipment versus another's?
I think that's a good question. They would choose us. Why would they choose us? I think people that do the study to understand what performance they're actually buying, and not everybody does that study, because sometimes it is more the relationship than the performance of technology. But we do have the best technology in the world today, and I choose the word today carefully because we are very aware that everybody's, chasing and working hard to get better. But I think we really sell on performance and value. So if people look at the value they get from their investment, we normally come out on top of that equation. But if they're just looking at price, and there are price competitive markets, or I say price sensitive markets, and here I would refer to, say, some of the Asian markets. We find Mexico, for example, that's a very they are price sensitive markets, and they don't always look at value of what they're buying. So we really appreciate the markets that do the value equation.
So where's the biggest growth potential for you?
We have the major market share on the west coast of the USA today. There is still considerable growth on the east coast of that continent, and really South America we see that region as being a significant food source for the Northern Hemisphere, the counter-seasonal food source, more South America than New Zealand, Australia or South Africa as the Southern Hemisphere country. And also the Asian markets are just emerging, when a lot of the work that they're doing in sorting fruit today has been done manually, but as time goes on, their costs of labour are increasing and they need automation. So there's huge growth in the Asian markets for our technology.
Obviously you would have the majority share of the business for the domestic market as well.
We've been fortunate. We've built the business here on New Zealand, and I'd say approximately 70% of New Zealand's export kiwi fruit and apple crop is sorted on our equipment, or by our equipment.
So New Zealand becomes also the guinea pig and the testing ground for a lot of your innovation as well.
Yes, a lot of the good ideas do come from here, and we roll them out to our customers abroad. So New Zealanders have been quite innovative in developing varieties. Like a lot of the apple varieties we have today were developed here in New Zealand, along with the technology to sort them. So New Zealanders' innovation is a key to our business, and it's really quite a key in the fruit industry to develop some really good fruit varieties to globalise.
When we think about the company and where it's sitting at the moment and some of its growth aspirations, where could this company be in, say, 5 or 10 years' time?
Well, 100 people are actually employed here in New Zealand. We have in our global team over 300 people committed permanent full-time on the Compac project, if you like. So 300 today. We would see ourselves, the potential is there to double our turnover, which is not necessarily the number of people employed, but within the next 5 years. So that's a goal which we believe is achievable, and we hope to do that.
Staff are obviously a major issue with companies like this, looking for the right staff, finding them and then keeping them. Tell us about some of the staffing issues that you have attracting the right staff for the business.
Yes, I mean finding good engineers, because we are really a technology developing company. Our business is built on the good designs that we come up with, and finding good engineers, it's always a challenge, because they are, we're looking for people that think outside the square. So we have quite a program with Auckland University where we have summer students. We bring in, say, 20 students. We have done so over the last 4 years, and we're looking to recruit from that pool. They get to know us, we get to know them, and that's been quite a successful summer program for us. They're engineering students that we're hiring.
And of course you were the winners this year of the High Tech Awards, New Zealand High Tech Awards, and that comes with a certain degree of prestige and cachet in its own right, I would imagine.
Yes, indeed. We're very honoured and surprised to be the winner of that award. But no, it was a great recognition for the good work that our engineers have been doing.
And just finally, if you were to sum the philosophy of the business up, what would it be? What would be the essence of Compac right now?
I think the first thing that comes to mind is deliver what you promise. So that's really a key for us. We have a lot of, we talked about the competitive space, a lot of competitors that overpromise and under-deliver. And for us, it's a key that's a key point of differentiation, and be known for delivering what we promise. So sometimes that will lose us projects because our competitors will overpromise and the customer will be believed temporarily. But we take a long-term approach to the business, and we've seen good examples in our history of where we said we couldn't do something within a time frame, and the customer chose a competitor, but in the long run they came back to Compac, and that may be 2 or 3 years down the track when they realised that they didn't get what was promised by a competitor. So that's one of our core values.
And also the fact that the customers that you originally gained are the ones that you're keeping.
Yes, I think that we really value our existing customers, the support they've given us, and I mean keeping our customers' business is very, very important to us. So understanding, listening to their needs. I think that customer focus and listening to what technology, what products, what software. The traceability, the food safety is a recent need for our customers. So we're responding to that. We're offering in contracts in the US, a big part of what we're providing is the traceability of the product through their packing process. That's something new coming out from our customers' needs.
Well, Dave, thanks for joining us today. Obviously, this company has a bright future, and as long as we keep exporting fruit and we keep producing good quality fruit around the world, then the business obviously has a pretty secure future.
I think so. While we're in the equipment business, we are really in the food business. So as long as people need to eat and they want better and more consistent produce, we'll be in business.